I believe holistically in that. And so you start with the affirmations, but you got to manifest your affirmations through your work ethic. And so that's what it all ties back to. So I speak those positivity into my life. I speak goals into my life. I speak wealth. I speak, happiness. I speak what my family is living like. I speak what my mom is living like. However,
but what you think? I'm thinking big. Think big. The bigger I think big. Think big. Yeah, I'ma think big. Think big. Yeah, I'ma think big. Yeah, I'ma think big.
All right, y'all. So how y'all doing today? Welcome back to another edition of Think Big Thursday, where we bringing you the bomb interviews. Today, I got a special guest, someone who is a big thinker, someone who thinks big, Derrick Ziglar. Man, what can I say? Football extraordinaire, real estate extraordinaire, entrepreneur. Like, dude, what's up, Derrick? How you doing, my man?
I'm good, man.
How everything been going, man?
Hey, everything's good, bro. I'm happy to be here for real.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up, man. So, man, I've been knowing you for about, probably about a year.
Yeah, we're right at a year
now. About a year now, man.
And
since day one, it's always been business talk, man. And I know me being 35 and you just recently 28, you not even hit 30 yet, and then accomplished some amazing things, man. Tell us a little bit about like where you started from, and how did you end up developing the mindset that you have now?
Yeah. So I grew up in a small town, Martinsville, Virginia, and really the biggest thing, man, is I seen so much growing up. Drug dealers, man. I grew up on the block, crackheads and everything. Like I lost a lot of friends so far, like everything, And so growing up, like I always realized I wanted more out of life. And my mom wasn't financially able to do that, even though she worked 2-3 jobs. So I was always aware of that, always knew that I had to grind. And at a young age, I started that. I had my own lawn service type thing going on at 12 years old.
Wow, hustling.
So I was hustling early, bro. Early. Yeah,
I got to get this money, man.
Early, man. And so I always been about that grind. And so, like I said, I realized it at a young age, man, and it started there. And so that passion has evolved as I've grown, for sure. And so when I went to 𝐓𝐡𝐻𝐼 to play college ball, I met a lot of people there that really sparked my interest, as far as the fact that I met people that had money. And that wasn't the type of environment I was in. The only people we knew had money was the drug dealers. It was different.
In a different environment.
Exactly, man. So being in a different environment, man, learning a lot of different things, it really started to pique my interest, where I knew it was something else I had to do, right? And so kind of fast forwarded, I graduate, I go into the military as an Army Reserve officer. And the guy that I call my rich dad, he really sparked my interest in real estate. And so I already had a good paying job. I was making good money there. But when he introduced real estate to me, I started looking at it from a different view of like, man, we can make some real dough in this. We can make some real money. And so that changed the whole landscape of everything that I started thinking at that point. And I started looking at properties, land, buildings. Didn't matter what it was. For me, it wasn't about the building. It was about the money that was behind it and that somebody was making it. And for me personally, I started thinking big. I'm like, bro, I deserve that too. Why can't I go live comfortable? Why can't I be a multimillionaire and my family good? Why can't my kids grow up spoiled? Right? And so, you continue that, and I started really getting into real estate investing. And so once I secured my first property, secure my second property, secure my third property. It just really started sparking more and more of a hunger to be successful. And so recently been able to be on the Bigger Pockets podcast. That really brought some more people into that landscape of my life, and really introducing me to different concepts and ideas. And so through people asking questions and me continue to grow and evolve, and really just thinking bigger and bigger, honestly. That next phase of it is what introduced me into the concept of creating the app that I'm developing now, and ultimately forming my own technology startup, and really in the process of building that out too.
Got it. And you talk about the app, and we're going to get into the app. But I know you play football, and I know we just had the Lakers series, win it all during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
What type of mindset do you think they had to have to get to there? You playing, me playing, almost semi-pro, tearing my... I'm just playing, man. That's the story I tell.
Yeah, you gotta tell people that.
Hey, I couldn't win pro, man, but I tore my ACL, Now, but it's just like a different level of thinking, though. You know what I mean? Like, especially when you play on that level, like everyone don't get a chance to play on a college
100%,
level. You know what I mean? Most of us stop at city league level, not even high school. You know what I mean? So for you to go to that next step and not only play, but like really play and excel, like what mindset did you develop during that process to get you to this point to where you go so hard in real estate?
Yeah. And honestly, I would say all of it ties back to my athletic career, right? And so I would say the biggest thing that sports taught me, and particularly football, is you got to work. You got to work 7 days a week, right? And through sports, I was never the fastest guy. I was never the biggest guy, the strongest guy, the most talented guy. However, what I knew is I was going to outwork everybody else around me. And so that mindset transitioned into business as well. And so when you are an athlete and you're a professional athlete especially, and I mean, you think about what LeBron and them just did, like that's crazy, man, because of the situation of what's really going on. Like you got to be focused. You got to be focused. You got to be determined, right? But a lot of that boils down to your why. Like you got to be hungry and you got to have a real purpose. And so I think a lot of people that I see quit, whether it's in, you know, I've seen so many high school athletes that are good in high school, they go to college and they quit because they don't realize it's a business when you get to that level, and it only gets harder and harder, right? But I would say the biggest reason why people quit in anything is because they don't have a real why. If you don't have a why, the reason why you're going through the struggle, the reason why you're working out all the time, the reason why you wake up early, the reason why you go to bed late, you know, if you don't have a strong why,
it
you got
won't
nothing that's going to tie you there. Exactly. So when you go through your obstacles, when you get hit hard, right?
You stop.
I'm done. I'm done because my why is
pushing you.
Exactly, man. So when you create a strong why, I think that right there is the one thing I always tell people when I'm mentoring people, man, is you got to start with your why. You can have a great business idea. You can have a great concept. Does not matter what that look like. You can be very talented. I've seen it. But if you don't have a great why, you're going to quit. You're going to quit. Period.
So with going to school, coming from, you know, low poverty area, like myself, coming from, you know, racism and all those things we face as young black men, how was that military experience for you? You know, just growing up from, like you said, leaving the hood to now you have to enter into a space of, this space wasn't built for you. And this is a different type of mindset. Like they literally have to break you to build you back together. Like how did you deal with that? And how do you use those skills nowadays?
Honestly, it's mental toughness and my why. So it still goes back to my why, being stronger than anything else that was coming against me. And the other part of that is mentally, it was like, bro, I'm not going to give nobody the satisfaction that they beat me. Right? And so it's I can't lose, right? And so when you have that mentality, it's going to push you through those tough times, and that mentality of you can't break me. So when things are tough, you know, when your opponent is bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, right? When they got the institution behind them, when they got money behind them, it doesn't matter at the end of the day if you approach it with a certain mindset, and you got to make sure your actions they match that, right? So I think that was the biggest part for me in that school, man. It was tough. I had a lot of times where I wanted to quit for sure. I had a lot of times where I'm like, man, like, why am I doing this? I need to just go home, bro. Just go to another school. Like, you good, you know? And there's so many times like I wanted to quit and go to like, you know, HBCU, which is where I ultimately did want to go. However, I knew that school would challenge me in ways that I needed to grow in as a man. And that's why I made that decision. And so I always look forward too. So for me, it's a small investment. It's a 4-year investment. However, when I live to be 100 years old, those 4 years will fly by. It'll seem like they barely existed. And so sometimes you just got to make that sacrifice.
And you know, a lot of times we make a lot of sacrifices that ultimately at the time we don't think like, man, it's not going to pay off. But I realize, man, any sacrifice you make for the greater good, it always pay out, man. It always pays out, man. And if you have that mindset to see, like literally see in your future and believe it and put that work toward it, you can get anything you want, man. I know a lot of times, like especially like me and you, we talk about things like meditation and affirmations and you know, things of that nature. Like how do you use those practices in your everyday life?
So I mean, every day I get up early in the morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock every single day. Even on the weekend, sleeping in for me is like 7:30, right? So with that type of mindset, it's getting up early in the morning to get the day started, right? And that's an attack mentality. Like I'm not waiting for a situation. I'm not waiting for an opportunity. I'm up early in the morning preparing for it. And after that, you know, I have that moment of meditation and prayer where I talk to God and I pray and I make sure that my heart is where it needs to be. and I get my mind ready as well. And the last part of that is affirmations. So I speak wholly on that, and I talk about, you know, the positive things I want to happen, where I see myself 10 years from now. I talk about the fact that I'm gonna be retired out on the beach, and when you call me, I'm like, hey, bro, I fly out there to see you tomorrow, but today I gotta go.
Now.
So you know, it's about speaking positive, you know, actions, positive things in your life, and when you do that consistently, it starts to trick your mind a little bit. Well, now not only are you speaking those things, but now I start to believe it, right? When I said I was going to be, you know, making 6 figures at 27, 28 years old, I started speaking that to myself at 24. By the time I hit 26, I was already at 6 figures. When I said I'll be at 125, 130 by the time I hit 30 years old, by the time I hit 27, I was already there, right?
Good.
And so it's like speaking those things, you start to believe it. And so when they happen, you're like, okay, now I got that down. What's the next thing? And I believe holistically in that. And so you start with the affirmations, but you got to manifest your affirmations through your work ethic. And so that's what it all ties back to. So I speak those positivity into my life. I speak goals into my life. I speak wealth. I speak, you know, happiness. I speak what my family is living like. I speak what my mom is living like. However, I get up at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning to work for that. And because I'm speaking it into my life, right? Every day when I get up, I know what the mission is. So when obstacles come my way, I know what my why is. Because every day I'm getting up and I'm speaking it. So it's a constant reminder, man. It really is. And so it's like continuously putting gas in the car. You ain't never running out of gas if you always putting gas in your car.
What about the period? Because I hear people all the time say, man, I wake up, I pray, I meditate, I do my affirmations, and nothing's happening. Like, nothing's happening. And that stuff is a bunch of crap. What do you say to those people?
Work harder. Seriously, work harder. Like, when you speak your affirmations, is the work you're putting in the rest of the day matching that, right? So when I said I wanted to be a 6-figure earner and I wasn't a 6-figure earner, all of a sudden my work ethic had to change a lot, right? And it had to drastically change. I had to start reading books. I had to start learning things. I had to start networking. Things I didn't have to do, right? And so I stepped completely out of my comfort zone and I had to work so much harder. When I started saying, all right, I hit 6 figures now, I'm not trying to go after 200,000. I want a couple million now, right? Now I want to be a billionaire. My work ethic has to continually grow. So if it's not happening, the biggest thing you can do is start to change your mindset. Stop talking about the negative. Start focusing on the positive, but change your work ethic. Start changing the way you think through things. You might have to completely change up what you're doing too. What you're doing could not be what you need to be doing. And so you might have to completely change that up. But continue to press, continue to work for it.
Almost as if you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
You have to.
Yeah, because it's something about.
I'm uncomfortable every day.
Yeah, it's like as an entrepreneur, you like, I don't know where this dollar coming from.
But it's coming.
But it's coming.
It's coming.
And as long as I put the work toward getting it, I'm going to receive it, man. I think a lot of times people get in their mind that they're going to earn money or get money. I look at it in the sense of I'm going to receive money, man, because the energy I put out there toward what I want is going to bring it back to me, man, because I may want to sell this hat and I may say, man, I want to sell 100 of these hats. Nobody may not want to buy these hats. They may not even like this hat. But if I constantly put it in your face, if I constantly push this hat, sell this hat, eventually someone will buy it. And not only will I sell 100, I will sell 100,000 of them. Because I'm putting that energy and that work toward that goal, that specific goal, man.
And I think a lot of times too, we get impatient, man. Like, you know, we all hear it all the time, right? Like, our timing might not be God's timing, and that's a true fact. And I think, you know, we have to continue to prepare ourselves and prepare ourselves and prepare ourselves. You might set a goal and you prep yourself for 2 weeks, and that goal gets achieved. But when you start thinking big, when you start going after the big goals, right? You could be preparing yourself for 6 years. You said you was doing this for 6 years before it started popping. Now you got people coming in like, yo, bro, how'd you make this happen so quick? And you're like, no, dog. I've been prepping for a long time, right? And so sometimes we get down on ourselves. And let's say at year 3, you would have said, man, this ain't working, I quit. You wouldn't be sitting right here today looking at me going, bro, the 6 years is well worth it.
For real.
And so that, I think a lot of times that's kind of what it goes back to.
Most people don't even have a why. Most people don't even, like, they can't even fathom the thought to even think about, like, why I do certain things. They're just going through the motion because of programming, because what their mom taught them, because what their dad taught them. Like, how were you able to, like me coming from a similar situation, small town, surrounded by poverty, like you're saying, the most successful people you see are drug dealers or, you know, people who quote unquote have good jobs, but now that we older, we know like
they
ain't no good job. You know what I mean?
Nah.
So how were you able to break away from that mindset, and how were you able to use your why to like catapult you to like continue on to push, even in spite of, you know, some of the obstacles that you may face in your life?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like, you know, growing up in that environment. I mean, you see drug dealers go to jail. You see some of them get killed, right? So for me, like that's a no-no. I'm not going to jail for no reason, right?
Yes.
I'm not trying to put myself in those situations where I could potentially get killed for something like that, right? So I would say that automatically ruled that out for me, and I did not know ultimately what I wanted to do. As a little kid, I would have told you play in the NFL, right? That's a lot of our dreams. That's what we're sold, right?
Yes.
So that would be what I ultimately wanted to do. But what I identified, I would say around the age of 14, 15, is I seen some of the sacrifices my mom made, and I matured really fast. And so I understood the sacrifices she made. And so for me, my why became my family. And so at an early age, it was about getting into college, graduating, making good money. You know, I decided to do the military because of the benefits and some of the perks that go with that, right? And so it was always about being able to take care of my family. And even today, what I'm focused on right now, it's the same thing, right? I'm years later, you know what I mean? It's years later down the road. The mission is a lot harder. The grind is a lot bigger, right? But at the end of the day, my mission is exactly the same thing, and it's about taking care of family. And so that's the reason why no matter what the business has been so far, I've been successful. That's the reason why when I look at, you know, what the next mission is, I don't really worry about it. I know if I put the grind in, I got my why. I know my why is strong enough because of what I've been through so far. And so now it's really about, it's not so much about the why for me. It's about me continuing to learn and evolve with that. And when times get hard, how do I reflect on the past and the things I've had to overcome? You know, don't forget about those obstacles we've climbed, because that right there, sometimes it's the gas you need. You know, and so that's kind of where I go back to really continue to propel me forward when I think about that.
Up until this point, because I know we always talk about obstacles, and we all face a lot of obstacles in our life. What do you think like was the turning point? Was like this was the, up until this point, the biggest obstacle that you faced to say, man, I had to really think big and think beyond of what I was going through in that current moment to get me to this next, you know, place in my life?
Yeah, I would say it had to been VMI. You know what I mean? So when I went to VMI, which, you know, the Virginia Military Institute out in Virginia, it's a military school just like, you know, Naval Academy, that type of thing. However, because it's a public school, you don't have to commission, but it's literally the same thing, if not harder in a lot of ways, because we don't have certain backing where they're trying to push you through. You know, our school is built on you being a tough-minded person, and they're going to weed out the weak. They're going to get rid of the people that don't, you know, show that they are honest, trustworthy type people, and that they are strong-minded as well. So that for me was a tough environment to go into. Growing up in the neighborhood I grew up from, I got dropped in an environment that was not built for me. You know, I was away from my family in a military type environment that was really hard to go through. And so I had plenty of days where I wanted to quit, plenty of nights I cried, I shed tears, I was mad, I had moments I lashed out, I had moments and things that I'd done that could have got me kicked out. But at the end of the day, it goes back to that why. And that was what made me continue to push and push and push. 4 years later, I got that degree and I'm walking out. And then when you go to that job interview, they know, oh, okay, you went to that type of school? Cool, I know what type of person you are.
Mentally tough.
And honestly, like even now, it's so many things that come up. I look back on my experiences then and I'm like, I already know I can beat this. Why? Because I dealt with 4 years of that. And
then, you know, that explains it, man. When I first met you, I'm not gonna lie. So how I met you, and for the listening audience, me and Derrick used to be co-managers at a major corporation. And when Derrick came in, I had to train you. And from day one, it was weird, man. It was like I had already had in my mind that's like, I'm not gonna show this guy everything. I'm gonna be like, in my mind, it's like I'm gonna give him little bits and pieces. But when I saw your work ethic, I was like, I can't give him anything. He's going to take what he wants. And I see now like the hard work that you put in to get you to this point. Like that dog mentality, man. Like it's hard for people to like accept that. Because you can be looked at and criticized as a butthole. You can be criticized as you're doing too much. Especially as black men, we already know when we go into a setting, we're trying to outshine everybody every day, right? So how did you deal with that coming from low poverty environment to going to a college to where you had to build a mental toughness to now having the paperwork, the backing, the training, the tools, but stepping in a corporate situation to where that system is not built for us either. Like, what advice would you give to the young man that's graduated from college that came from a similar situation to us, that's trying to enter into the real world? Like, what advice would you give to him?
I would say, and I wish somebody would have told me this, but I had to learn it the hard way. And honestly, it's one of those things where people are going to feel, they're going to have mixed feelings about this, but I'll tell you the truth about it. I think sometimes when you come into an organization that's a strong black man or black woman, sometimes you got to water yourself a little bit. And so what I meant by that is I couldn't go into those organizations being the only black guy at the round table at senior executive meetings and stuff like that, and I'm going hard because that's my personality, you know. So sometimes you got to water that down some so people can start to receive you some, because if I do that off jump, my intentions can be 100% pure. However, because of my aggression, right? Because of the fact that I'm determined, because I work hard, people are going to perceive me as a threat, right? And then we know in the corporate world, you got to watch those games. It is,
man, for real.
So one thing that I learned is, you know, I watered myself down a lot on the front end. And as I continue to grow, as my reputation, as my consistent work ethic, as my work, my success, my results started to speak for themselves, you start to get more and more and more and more, right?
You get the buy-in.
Exactly. And so before you know it, now I'm sitting in these meetings, I got a proven track record. You're getting 100% Derrick. Same Derrick I am outside the door, same Derrick you're getting when I'm in there. And I'm keeping it 100% real with you. But people around me are now more comfortable. They're not shut off. They're not. I'm not fighting them to just be part of the, you know, the decision making and stuff like that, because they see my track.
So I know you talk about manifestations and affirmations. What's your top 3 affirmations that you use every day, and why?
So my top one is I'm great. So every day speaking over myself and just reminding myself that I'm great. Greater than any obstacle that comes my way, greater than any problem that comes my way. That second one is really reminding myself of my own personal values and the things that I stand on, my principles. And then that last one, it goes back into what I really want for myself. And so it's speaking over what the future looks like for me. It's speaking over the fact that I retire at a young age, that I retire my mother, that I'm enjoying life and I'm traveling, I'm out on the beach and I'm living life on my terms. And the reason why I have those 3 is because ultimately it's about, 1, reminding myself of the things that I've conquered. It's 2, reminding myself of the type of man that I want to be and the principles that I stand on every single day. And then 3, it's about really setting the tone for the day. Here's what my goals are. So I've woken up now, I've spoken those affirmations over myself, I prayed, and now it's time to shine, right? And it's where the work ethic come in, man. And it's about grinding every single day to make sure that I'm not just saying those affirmations, that I'm living by them. And ultimately, I know what's going to end up happening is that third one, which is the goals, right? It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. So
it's going to happen now. So tell us about your deal, about the first deal you ever made to get into real estate. How were you able to navigate that deal? What are some of the tools you use? And then what information do you use from that deal that you use today?
Gotcha. And so the biggest thing for me was really learning real estate. And so once my mentor introduced me into that, I just immersed myself in the knowledge piece of it. And so I listened to books. I searched a lot on the internet, man. Computer open, phone open, like going back and forth type of thing. And it really was about understanding what real estate was about, getting the basic knowledge around it. And what I believe happened at that point is because my mentor seen me grinding like that, you know, he had some money sitting around where he already done some deals and it was kind of just sitting there. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna help you go ahead and get started on the investment side of it. Here's a little bit of money. You already been saving money up. You got to find a deal. You got to buy it. You got to rehab it. And I want my money back in 6 months. And so that put me in a very uncomfortable situation. And but it was good because at the end of the day, it made me go get it. You know what I mean? I had this money now. I've been working on the knowledge piece. Now I got to go get it. And so I ended up finding a property that bought, rehabbed it. It was worth way more money than what we put into it. Pulled that money out, paid him back. And then, you know, now it's time for me to move forward on that end. And so it was a critical piece in my investing journey because what it taught me is a lot of the nuances of real estate. It's so many little things we don't understand. I didn't understand the language of real estate in a lot of different ways. I understood the concepts of the strategies that I was using. I didn't understand a lot of the language parts. There's a lot of little steps in there that I didn't know, things I missed, I had to go back on. You know, I put way more money into it than what I originally thought, even because I didn't understand that. And so that really helped me grow into now the fact that I understand a lot more pieces of that.
Yep.
And when I'm mentoring people, I always harp on the educational piece.
Yeah, no, that's for real. So with the education piece, man, which is very important when you're starting any business, like you need to know the language, you need to know like how to navigate in that business.
Absolutely.
You need to know all the ins and out about that, right? So with the app that you're developing, right? And with your past experience of, you know, having to research and go out there and find different information from different places, how big of a part will your app play in the education piece of the real estate game?
Yeah. And so my app 𝐓𝐡𝐻𝐿 is really focused on preparing the next generation of investors. And so we're putting consolidated information onto the platform. We're going to basically educate you on the terminology first. So you can learn the terminology of real estate investing based off of the strategy that you want to invest and how you want to invest. And so that's the backbone of the app. Then it's even growing further from there, and there's going to be courses offered through that. So you can actually take courses so you can learn A to Z, how do I do this, right? And that's such a critical piece because a lot of times you can start putting bits and pieces of it together, but you're missing something. And in real estate, it can cost you thousands. And so we want to make sure that people are getting prepared for that. And that's something I'm passionate about. And so we're going to make sure that you understand real estate in its purest form. Simple education that's easy to understand, but we're going to make sure that the platform is growing with you as well. And so after that piece, it's about making sure we grow your network within investing, connecting you to realtors, connecting you to contractors, connecting you to hard money lenders, credit repair specialists, and different consultant businesses as well, because those are things that you need to be successful. And on the back end of that, it is about 100% helping you invest. And so eventually we'll get to a point where you'll be able to actually invest in deals. If you're a guy that needs money and you got, you know, Derrick is over here with money in the pocket, Deon is like, look, bro, I got the property, but I ain't got the cash right now. I can invest in that deal with you. You get the property, I get money back in on the back end, right? So that's really what it's about, man. And it's really about
we all benefit from it.
100%.
Got it.
100%. And so this app is purely, it's for real estate investors. My goal is to be a part of the journey of anybody that wants to learn real estate at all. Just the smallest interest of it. Download this app. You start to learn. Real estate's going to take over from there. But really providing you the platform where you say, hey, all the resources, everything that I need is right here.
I like that, man. I like that, man. I like that, man. So as we wrap it up, man, I like to do something at the end of every show where I ask you two questions. First question is, what does think big mean to you? And the second question is, what do you do every day to ensure that you're thinking big?
And I would say thinking big to me, it 100% means fear, being scared. Because when you think big, your dreams, your goals, the target that you set for yourself is so big that it scares you. You don't know if you can get there. You don't know if you can do it. You don't know if you got the resources, the money, the time, whatever. You don't even know if you're smart enough to do it, right? But it stretches you. It stretches you, and that's really what it's about. You know, if you're setting goals for yourself that you can easily achieve, what's the purpose, right? So when you think big, you're gonna think big enough to a point where, all right, this scares me some. I'm scared to start a tech company, but I have an idea here and it helps people. Why wouldn't I not start it, right? And the reason why I say that is what I feel every day, because my goals are big.
I like that.
You know what I mean? And so that scares us as we continue to grow and evolve. And the way that I make sure every single day that I'm thinking big enough is through my affirmations, man. And that keeps me on track, right? It's my affirmations are preparing me for obstacles that may come my way. It's preparing me for the principles and the work ethic and the things that I stand on daily as a man. And the last piece of that is the goals that I put in my affirmations, so that I daily remind myself of why I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Why this isn't just a 12-hour work day, it's an 18-hour work day. Sometimes it's a 20-hour work day. And you know, man, like you gotta put it in. And everybody do not understand that. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that will never understand it. They'll say you work too much. You know, your goal's too big. Why do you want all that? You want too much. You're blessed. You don't need this. And what we all have to understand is, we need everybody at their level, right? Like you can't have everybody can't be a top-notch chef. We need somebody that 100% is flipping burgers at McDonald's, and there's nothing wrong with that. The same way there's nothing wrong with people that are content with their lifestyle and the way that they live if they're working a minimum wage job, because you don't know that person's story and what their goals are. However, me as an individual, I think big to a point where that doesn't work for me. I want more out of life. So that's how I do it every single day. Thinking big to me means I'm scaring myself. If I'm not doing that, I know I'm not thinking big enough.
I like that, man. I like that, man. Think big, Derrick.
Yeah,
Think big.
every day.
Listen, man. So tell the people where they can find you at social media, Facebook, Instagram.
Oh yeah. So on Facebook and LinkedIn, Derrick Ziglar Jr. I'm on there daily, constantly on LinkedIn for sure. Just networking and building that platform. On Instagram and Twitter, you can follow me at empirical_zig. Also, I have my company website, www.ziglartechnologies.com. The app platform is on www.𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐧𝐤, that is ZELITE.app. You can go there, you can subscribe to be a beta tester. As we continue to grow this thing, we're growing a nice team and a nice community around it as well.
So listen, all of his Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, website, the app, all his handles will be in the description. So if you want to check it out, go in the description below. You'll be able to easily follow Derrick Ziglar. So once again, I appreciate you, my brother, man. Man. I appreciate you.
Love it,
this
man.
is Deon the Moteevator. This is Derrick Ziglar with Ziglar Technologies, man. So if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe, comment below, let me know what you think. And again, like we always say, think big Thursday, think big.
Think big.
To my channel, if you haven't already, like, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new Think Big Thursday video. Thank you for inviting me into your hearts, into your homes. And as always, it's Thursday, right? Yeah. It's Think Big Thursday.